Before we get started with today's show, I want to thank our great sponsors for sponsoring this episode number 5 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. First of all, our brand new sponsor that came back last week, BetUS. Thank you so much. They're a fantastic sports betting and casino platform for all your big plays, especially coming up with this week's big game, i.e. the Super Bowl. It offers up to 200 games a day in live betting plus 300 to 400 all these different types of props that you can have. And we have our own promo code. If you do sign up right before you deposit cash, it'll ask you to put a promo code in. Please use code RACING3H. Once again, that's RACING 3H, the number 3H. When signing up, you get a free 125% if you deposit $100 or more. Please look below the video player for that link to BetUS or go to betus.com. And another thank you to our wonderful sponsors over there at Crownsway Racing. Anthony Rallo does a great job, and they actually just released a brand new website, which I am bringing up on the screen right now. You can go to sites.google.com/view/crowns-way-racing. It is in the description below. Please check this out. It has so much good information on them and all their current horses, and to join their team, how to join Sears E, which is going on, which Howard has talked about before. So please go to either email Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com if you are interested, or go to their Twitter at Crownsway Racing and DM them to find out how to get involved. But now let's go on and let's start episode number 5 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Welcome to episode number 5 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Roscoe, and what an amazing week we have coming up with the Super Bowl on Sunday and everything going on Saturday with racing that Howard will talk about on Thursday. But guys, just the Super Bowl is just an amazing time of year, especially for us bettors, as there's just an absolute infinite amount of different types of ways that you can play this game, whether you're a normal line player, an over-under player, or you're like me and a special guest that we're going to bring on here shortly that just loves diving into all these different prop bets. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of different things that you can bet on throughout the Super Bowl, whether it's, players to score a touchdown, what number will score the first touchdown of the game or something like that, the exact score. Anything you could even think about is what is going to be available to bet on for the big game on Sunday between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And like I said, there's really just no other way to put it that this is just an absolutely amazing weekend to bet. And there's just an infinite amount of possibilities that you can come up with. And we're going to touch on a bunch of them here. But main thing for this show is we're obviously going to have the ones that we're looking forward to. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your prop bets that you are loving for this weekend Super Bowl? It could be literally anything. I think one of mine is, both players to throw over 2 touchdowns is plus 200 or something like that. Anything you guys want, anything at all that you guys are interested in, please put in the live chat and we will get to it. But now, without further ado, I think we're just going to have to hop right into it. Like I said, there's just so many different prop bets. We can't cover them all, but let's try and cover as many as we can. And with a co-host that many of you are familiar with, if you follow the HHH Racing Podcast for a long time, and the prop man himself, Pete Visco. Pete, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, my man? How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Cheers to you, my
friend. Cheers.
And
I should take a drink when we toast.
Absolutely. And I will as well. It's just, like I said at the beginning of the show, just infinite amount of possibilities that you can come up with. And I know, even before the show, you sent me a list of 25, 30 that you were interested in. That's not even scratching the surface of it.
No, it's funny. You look at the game and you go, I don't even want to bet the line and the total because I can bet that on any game. I want to bet all the other junk that's out there. And like I said, the ones we'll talk about, I picked out special ones that I thought were a little weird and a little wild, and maybe a little, if you're on a budget and you're betting small increments, as I sometimes like to do with the props, where I'm trying to get a little bit of a score as opposed to, yeah, if I bet the line, what am I going to do if I'm betting? If you're only like a $20 better, say, I don't want to win $20, I want to win, 200 or 700 or 5,000 if I can. So that's where we're going to probably shoot for a little bit in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that's the way I bet these types of sports is, horse racing, you look 7-5, oh, that's value. But then you look at sports, you're like, 100 to 1 parlays, 200 to 1 parlays, give me paid in this type of sport.
I mean, I'm the worst gambler when it comes to sports betting, in the sense of I always want to throw in that extra team or that extra person or that extra prop or whatever it is, because I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like betting a plus 310 bet. I feel like betting something plus 660. And so I'll throw in something. And then even if it's stuff that's hard to hit, like an idiot, I just throw the extra one in. The other night I was watching Portland, because I'm always up late and I watch the West Coast NBA games. And I'm like, why don't I bet like a 4-team player prop game in this Portland game, since it's on and I'm watching it anyway. And it actually wound up hitting for once, but that's few and far between because I'm an idiot.
Hey, well, when you do it that much, you don't have to be right all the time. You
that's
can
true.
be right
that's
just
true.
a portion of the time and still make some money.
That is very true.
It looks like a sound has been fixed, so I'm going to bring on my normal co-hosts for Bettin N Boozin, Patrick Kuenzel. Patrick, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Of course, one of the biggest shows of the year, and this is what happens. Glad to be here. Excited to talk about some props.
Absolutely, and like I said, Patrick has 10 different ones that we're going to talk about. I have 5 different ones. What we're going to do here, kind of just to lay out the show. Pete's only going to be here for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the show, and then Patrick and I are going to dive a little bit deeper. I have all the big ones written out, and we're going to go through them shortly. Obviously, I'm going to leave the floor open to Pete so he can touch on some of the ones that he's interested in, some of his best bets for the props that he's interested in. But like I said, this is just going to be kind of a wide open discussion almost. Like, we're going to go through the big ones that everyone's looking forward to. And then we're going to dabble in a bunch of these other ones that seem, kind of out there, but people might not even know they exist with these types of prop bets. So that's kind of the way we're going to go about it. But just to get into some comments real quick, Team Bitcoin, he's already going for it, my man. I love it. That Gatorade color, those are my 2 favorite bets of all of Super Bowl, is the coin toss and the Gatorade color at the end. Red Gatorade, hey, it is. I have it. Trust me, I have a banner for it. We're going to get there shortly. But yeah, 8-1 and, good price. I was really surprised. I put yellow last year, like plus 500. This year's the favorite at plus 114.
That's what I have. I'm so pissed that was the favorite. I was like, well, you know what it is? You do a little bit of research, and I saw that they did yellow. So they dumped, depending on who you like in the game,
right?
If you like the Eagles, they dumped yellow on Sirianni in the NFC Championship. So it's a little bit of a cheat, but I guess the line is reflecting that as well.
Yeah, a bunch of losers and all their computer statisticians now. Before you just had to guess it.
Yeah, before you didn't really have any sort of background on this stuff. Now there's people watching the national. Somebody talked about the national anthem. Now there's somebody like watching them warm up and tweeting out how long they're taking to sing the national anthem. Now it's no fun anymore.
That's what Charlie touched on that too. He's on last week. He's just like, whoever it is, just get the inside scoop and put it on the over or under.
Plus, you could probably find them singing some games somewhere.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you figure they're going to stretch it out for the Super Bowl, but you figure you can at least come up with sort of a rough line if you watch them sing it, like some Nashville Predators game or something.
Right. Yeah, it's probably It's probably not Chris Stapleton's first, national anthem he's ever sang.
Somewhere. Yeah, I'm assuming he's done it somewhere.
Patrick,
that type of stuff. Research that, man. Get on that.
Yeah, I actually have one good story about that. When the Super Bowl was at MetLife, the local stadium in Jersey, there's a little small arena right next to it called the Izod Center where the Nets and the Devils used to play. And I forget who was performing the national anthem. It was in 2017, but I knew somebody that was a security guard at the Izod Center, and they were listening to the national anthem being practiced, and they didn't think of timing it at that time. But I was flipping out, like, how could you not? Like, that's inside info right there. I mean,
to make some money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's that's the thing, man. Is there's always something that people can look up, and they'll always say, it's about this, whatever. So, it's just all about computer statisticians at this point. Let's get to some more comments here before we move on. Racing Downwind, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Team Bitcoin's also, he's throwing out more. Kansas City plus 1.5, total under 50.5. I mean, with the number one defense in the NFL being on the other side of the field, but we all know what Patrick Mahomes can do on the other side of the ball. So, but that one will be for tomorrow's show. We're going to be more into props today, but the lines and all that stuff, big analysis will come for tomorrow's show. Charles B also wants to know the Super Bowl and what's the spread. Just to put it out there, it is Philadelphia minus 1.5, Philadelphia minus 122, Kansas City plus 104 on the money line with an over under 50.5. That is of a few minutes ago. So we talked about this, Patrick, last week, but we'll get into it more obviously tomorrow. But the lines didn't change that much. They're pretty much the exact same. We were very interested to see how those lines would shift from last week to this week, and it really didn't change that much, which was interesting. I know, they've been bouncing back and forth, but really just the same. So
yeah, I guess Mahomes, the injury, they've kept it very quiet at least. I mean, I'm sure if stuff was put out in the media, the line would have changed a little bit, but it hasn't.
And he should start limping and help my Chiefs spread. That would be great. But Vale Place, got my glass of Chardonnay with Heineken IPA. Cheers to you, my friend. Appreciate it. Racing Downwind goes over the 12 for Pete. Vale Place,
good bet. Good
bet them all.
Racing Downwind knows me. That's a good bet right there.
Absolutely.
Yep. Vale Place, I'm not sure you
heads or tails.
Yeah, we got that.
We'll know that. Don't you worry about that. Any tips for? See, they're already looking for tips, Pete. It's insane.
I mean, I wish I had them. I'd give you that one, but I don't. I'm not as familiar with the sounds of our singer this year, so I don't really have any insight on that one.
Absolutely. Where's the professor? This is the young guys show, man. There's no professor to see here. But no, just kidding. He's taking a hiatus. He'll be back tomorrow to go over the analysis of the Super Bowl with all of us, along with Paul Halloran and our normal Bettin N Boozin host, Charlie Freeman. Jim Pillar's not prop guy, but enjoying the show. Jim just goes straight up with status, the stats and all that stuff. But no, we're having some fun here. But Jim, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. Team Bitcoin goes, he's not familiar, but if they carry, the one thing I said last week was national anthem at the Super Bowl it's always a safer bet going the over than the under, depending obviously on what the line is. But it's just, like last year, I said it last week as well. It's like that. What did it go? Like 3 minutes last year or something ridiculous. Last year. But like I said, I think Chris Stapleton might be more of a man of culture, but it's always a better line when going over. But guys, let's get into it without further ado, because I know Pete has to go pretty quickly here, but we're just going to touch on some of the bigger ones. I know Pete has some good parlays, but we're going to start off with the best bet of the entirety of the Super Bowl. It is the coin toss, ladies and gentlemen. We're given only big stats here on Bettin N Boozin. It's my favorite bet to make, I say that because I've been right the last 3 years, so that's probably why it's my favorite bet to make. But coin toss each way, I just wanted to touch on it real quick, guys. Obviously, there's no massive stats that go into it. Everyone knows if you're a math teacher like Howard, it's all independent, 50-50 shot. I'm going tails this year. It's gone tails, heads the last 3 years that I've been right. I'm going tails again. Pete, I know you wanted to touch on the coin toss as well. You got stats?
I mean, I went heads because I'm a tails guy generally, and I always seem to get it wrong. Obviously, the last 2 years got it wrong, so I figured let me be contrarian. So that means that tails is a lock. So everybody in the chat, lock that in.
See, and that's good for my bet too, because I just said tails. Patrick, are you a coin toss type of guy?
Yeah, I guess so. I've always looked at it as like it sets the tone for the night when it comes to betting. Like if you win that bet, all right, I'm starting out positive. I'm not bad, but I'll go with heads. I don't know. It was heads last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I won it on heads with 3 of my other buddies, and we were flipping out. It was a great night to start, but I'll go heads.
Oh, absolutely. I put it all over my Snapchat when I won. I was like, heads type of year, baby, heads type of year. But this might be a tails type of year. But honestly, now getting a little more into it, is we're going to go to anytime touchdown scorers first here. And I know Pete has some good ones here. Travis Kelce is, of course, the favorite at minus 115. Jalen Hurts actually coming in second, being a quarterback, is, obviously Jalen Hurts runs a lot, but that's very interesting that he's favored over everyone else on his team at plus 100. And then tied for third is Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, and Isaiah Pacheco at plus 120. Pete, take it away. What you got for us on this one?
I mean, on any I love any time, and I
Me
like
too.
to parlay any time, like we talked about earlier. Generally, I like to parlay them though across games. We can't really do that here, so you have to be pretty precise. I mean, you have to like obviously why they're the two favorites. You have to like Kelsey and Hurts. Kelsey just because he catches 8,000 balls a game, and he's Mahomes' favorite target, and he comes up in big games and just actually, what else are you going to do? You can't expect him not to have a good game if he doesn't, and especially if you like the Chiefs. And then Hurts, whenever they get inside the 5, he's dangerous. So he always seems to run one in. He'll get the sneak if they're at the 1. If they're inside the 5, he can roll out. So they're both viable. I'm going sort of off the board, but we can hit Patrick first, and then I'll sort of give you a couple of weird derivative ones off of anytime score.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, it goes like sequentially up from there. It doesn't go too far. Like I have Devontae Smith at plus 165. This is for
Howard, by the way, in the chat.
Yeah. Sorry. I knew it was coming. I figured once we were the Chargers shirt, I wasn't wearing a Bears shirt, man. The worst, I mean, Super Bowl and the worst team in the NFL don't really mix too well. But, I just took the L on that one. I don't want to say anything in regards to that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
You're fine. You're fine. Devonta Smith plus 165. Dallas Goedert's plus 175. And then you kind of get into all the Chiefs' different running backs and wide receivers like McKinnon, Valdez-Scantling, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Patrick, are you an anytime touchdown guy? And if so, where are you trying to look with this bet?
Yeah, I am an anytime touchdown guy. And I kind of like to look at it as like Pete was hitting on, like if you like the Chiefs or you like the Eagles, I don't really want to say too much about who I like, but my anytime touchdown will tell who I like. So I'm going to bet Jalen Hurts anytime. Like Pete said, they get inside the 10, the 5. Hurts is just dangerous. You got AJ Brown to worry about, Smith, Goddard, those running backs. So I think Hurts is a solid bet. I'd go Miles Sanders as well, and even Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell, the other two running backs. Like I think Philadelphia's running game could dominate this game. So I would bet any time for pick. You could pick all 3 running backs if you want. I was trying to look up a parlay for all 3 to score or 3+ rushing touchdowns because I just think Philly's dominant on the ground. I think they can control the game that way. So I like Philly rushing. So I'll go Hurts and I'll go the 3 running backs for any time.
Patrick, I was going to ask you if you have nightmares about Boston Scott since he seems to run in the end zone against the Giants every time. Is he going to come back? I think he was in the plus 550 maybe. So yeah, he gets them. He gets them when they're down inside the 10.
Yeah, they call him the Giant Killer. Yes. He's plus 550, and in like 8 games against the Giants, he has, I think, 9 touchdowns. So that's all you need to know about that.
Yeah, that's enough, right?
All you do have to do is get him within the 5-yard line, and Boston Scott just powers his way home. Let alone the Giants, but against anyone, you get a guy like Boston Scott. It's always nice to have. To your point, it's plus 19,954 for that parlay, Patrick. In case you were wondering, for that running parlay. But even if you don't even include Hurts in there, if you just want to go full running backs, it's still plus 6909, which is very nice if you ask me. But this for me, it's going to be one of 2 things. I agree with Patrick that it's either going to be Philly's run game or it's going to be the Chiefs passing game. Those are the 2 things in my opinion that are going to win this game. And you can even go like Racing Downwind actually just put in the chat. You can go first touchdown. You can go, who scores the 5th drive touchdown or whatever. You could do whatever you want. I'm going to go Kelsey. Kelsey is always, he's always Mahomes' best target in the red zone. Even with Eagles' number 1 defense in the league, I still see Mahomes taking it to them straight away. Like my pick would probably be Chiefs first touchdown. Would probably be to Kelsey. I think that was what Pete, what did you have? I think it was like plus 400 or so.
I think it was. Yeah. I don't know if I had that one on there. I didn't have that. I have him sort of mixed up, which we can get into in a second. I have sort of Kelsey mixed in some stuff to boost your odds a bit.
And absolutely. And that's where I was going to go next. I was kind of just saying, you can parlay a bunch of these and it kind of works like, especially if you get a lot of pluses in there. It just skyrockets the odds. Like we said, it's just 4 touchdowns and you're already at plus 200, you're already 200 to 1. Yeah. So Pete, I know you you sent me a few. You want to touch on a few of those parlays you sent me?
Yeah, the couple. So if you're looking at sort of a smaller basic one, I had a parlay of Kelsey and Devontae Smith, both anytime scorers, just a 2-man parlay. That was plus 363. And some of these numbers are from yesterday, so they might be off. Now, if you want to juice that up, I had Kelsey, Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith anytime scorers. That's plus 971 and seems pretty reasonable, going against a little bit of Patrick's running back lean. But I love Devontae Smith. I feel like he's going to have a huge game. And then 2 wild ones that you were talking about, Kyle, sort of in that vein. I have Devontae Smith, Travis Kelsey, first and second touchdown scorers. So Devontae Smith to score first, Kelsey to score second, plus 7,500. And then I reversed them, Kelsey, then Smith, same thing, plus 7,500. So it's just a bunch of different ways. Obviously, they're long shots, but again, it's the Super Bowl. You're trying to make a score on some of these. You want to hit some to, improve your bankroll, but you also want to see if you can't just get some crazy stuff happening and score.
I mean, absolutely, and that's the way, but especially me, I bet these Super Bowls, but it's the one day a year that I can justify to myself where even if you throw $5 on all these, like 75 to 1, I mean, that's still,
Beautiful.
if you're for the math people in the chat, I believe that's 350, but don't quote me on that. Howard, check my math, but I believe it's 350.
A little higher, but it's
a little higher.
enough.
No, wait,
yeah.
No, it's 375. Yeah. I can't do math.
go.
Don't worry about it. I didn't carry the 5.
Didn't carry the 5.
Oh God. All right. I'm going to get flamed in the chat for that one. But yeah, it's just, it's the one you tell you a year where, for me, when you parlay all these anytime touchdowns, I do it every weekend, obviously. But, when you can do a bunch of these like first time touchdown, second touchdown, you can get into that 75 to 1 range, which can really create some value. Even like I said, even if you're putting $5 on it or whatever you do, like I do. I'll probably, budget $60 and just throw a bunch of random crap out there and we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
just to touch on a few in the chat, Penn State Scott, thanks for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Ohio State is hiding. We love that. We keep it that way. But Charlie is I know I see a lot of people asking for Charlie. I knew Charlie was popular, but damn, hurts the feelings a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, I'm upset that I'm on with the B crew. Apparently, I need to be on with Charlie. I don't know what's happening.
It's the way it works around here. We're all the B crew. That's the way it works. But he is at a frat party, so he cannot. He is part of a frat house, a fraternity. So he cannot join us today. So apologies for everyone here who came for Charlie. Stephen Vanderbrook's. Hey, that it could be. I'm sure that's there somewhere. Like I said, you could bet on literally anything. Racing Down Win loves AJ Brown first touchdown of the game, which I believe is in the plus 600-700s, which is great value for that. And then I don't want to show that comment. Penn State Scott, he might be partying with Urban Meyer. We'll see how that goes. But like I said, Racing Down Win like 57 prop bets. Depending on your budget, you could play whatever you want for any dollar amount. And it could easily, there's so many different, like I keep touching on, there's so many different ways you can play it. It's just insane. Charlie did hit the pick 4 in Poly Bull Day. He mentioned on the show, I didn't have it when he originally sent me. He said he would have Rocket Cannon there. So that did propel him to the pick 4 along with me. So yeah, congratulations to both of us. As I had it, granted, it paid. I said I went over the $30 mark because I said I can, and I made not even double my money. So that's the classic. Like when Kyle hits the pick 4, it doesn't pay a lot because he only plays chalk. But that he did hit the pick 4, so congratulations to him as well. But all like I said, you can go so many different ways with these anytime touchdown scores. What I'm gonna probably do, I'm probably gonna parlay 3 or 4 of them in one bet, and then kind of dabble. Obviously, I'll have my 2 locks, which would probably be Kelsey and probably Sanders. You could even throw Gainwell in there, honestly. Gainwell likes to run a lot. If he gets on a big run, he'll usually run up until like the 30-yard line, 20-yard line or so. Once they get in the red zone, he kind of fades away a little bit, is when they bring in Boston Scott and guys like that. But, Miles Sanders scored, 2 last weekend, I believe, and, stuff like that. When they get into the red zone, he's definitely a threat. I'll probably have them both on a parlay, and I'll kind of dabble back and forth between like guys like Devonta Smith or, Dallas Goedert or something like that to kind of, secure the 2, but try and, create some value for me in those regards. And then one more that we're going to touch on with Pete, and then we'll let Pete touch on whatever else he wants to do, and then we can go. I'm just going to touch on both QBs to throw a 2-touchdown parlay, because I know this was part of yours, Pete, that you sent me. If you parlay both Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes to throw over 2 touchdowns, I believe Patrick Mahomes is like minus 220 or something like that to throw over 1.5. And then I think Jalen Hurts is minus 110 or something like that. And then, so when you combine them together, parlay them together, you get plus 174, Pete. I know that's one of your bets of the weekend.
Yeah, and that would actually, the one I saw was already a sort of a ready-made built parlay, and it was actually over 1.5, so 2 wins.
Right,
So the one I saw was, so 2 for each wins, which, especially from the Mahomes side, I can't imagine them winning the game if he doesn't have 2 touchdowns passing. And even Hurts, I mean, like you said, I think they can dominate in the running game, but you can squeeze in 2 for us to get that plus number up. So I like that plus 175. I really like that one. I figure that one at least it's not a stretch. It's not where you're just rooting. It's basic gameplay should get you to that one.
8 to 5s are generally supposed to win in the racing game, but
yeah.
Well, except when we're playing, of course.
Except I was going to say, I'm not sure that happens on my tickets, but that sounds about right for regular people.
I keep bringing it back to, for the racing people out there. You know who you are, but I really actually do like that because, while we said that they can, like you touched on, they can't dominate in the running game. The Chiefs have a lot of injuries in their secondary, frankly. So you get that you can try to establish the running game early, which might open up those lanes to throw those passes over the top to guys like Devonta Smith, who's a massive deep threat. And both in college and we've seen it. We saw it last game too, where he threw that one massive throw down the sideline with that insane one-handed grab by Devonta Smith, which, if you haven't seen it, go see it because it's something you need to see. So I love this bet. This is going to be one of my bets of the weekend. It'll probably be a 10-15er for me, just based on my budget alone. Plus 174 is not a bad price either.
No, not at all.
So I'm going to I know Pete has to go. Pete's got more adult responsibilities than the rest of us.
I don't want to get yelled at by the wife. No. I already got yelled at earlier, so I have to, keep it short so I can go help out with the little man upstairs. Not so little, but he's 11, but we still have to take care of him every once in a while.
Well, trust me, that's the better thing. If you work the other way. But,
that is true. I guess I have. Oh, go ahead, Kyle. I was going to say I have a few before remarks. I go. Yeah, I have a few that are sort of fun that I think might be useful. One of them I like, which I don't remember. I don't remember ever seeing this bet before. Was most playoff rushing yards total, and they have most playoff passing yards total. But that one seemed pretty easy for Mahomes, I think, to hold, and he was a pretty big favorite. This one, so Christian McCaffrey's the leader right now. I like Kenneth Gainwell in case he's the one that sort of breaks out. He's 78 yards behind McCaffrey. It's plus 1,600. So that's one I'm definitely going to play. Like I said, that's just a bet that I don't remember ever seeing before. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that looks fun. And I like Gainwell. And like you said, he's sort of one of those who could break a big one in between the 20s, in between the 15s. Maybe he doesn't get the rock as much when they get inside the 10, but he can get those in between yards. Plus, Miles Sanders, Penn State Scott knows this in the chat. Miles is good for maybe a little turned ankle or something every once in a while. Yeah. So then maybe we can feed Gainwell a little bit more.
Absolutely. Nope. Go ahead, Pete.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, I don't know if you guys like that one. No, or had any thoughts on that bet?
Just because it's so, obviously McCaffrey's out. For those of you that don't know, McCaffrey is not playing in this game. But, Gainwell, I was actually very surprised that I think that kind of tells you everything, that Gainwell is ahead of both Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders obviously gets the rock the most out of anyone on that team. But Kenneth Gainwell has 28 more rushing yards than him this entire playoff. Throughout all the series. So, and he's only 72 you said behind McCaffrey, I'm pretty sure.
78. He's 70. He trails by 78, so you need him to get 79. And actually then if you bet that, if you want to bet something a little smaller or you want to parlay it, you could bet, I don't know what the Gainwell, I didn't put that one down, the Gainwell over rushing yards. I'm sure that's actually pretty low.
Yeah,
so if you like one. What do you got, Patrick? You have that one?
It's 19. And actually I did a lot of I'll let you go ahead, but I did a lot of little research on Gainwell because, watching both games against the Giants and San Fran, I liked his second half. They brought him in when the game was kind of out of reach a little bit. And he broke one for 17 yards against San Francisco and 35 against the Giants. He's got 160 yards in the postseason.
I mean, that's great, right? I mean, it's fair.
Oh,
And plus, he comes in on passing. You know, there might be in a lot of, if this is a high-scoring game, he'll be in on passing down. You get him on a nice draw play. You get him on some stuff like that. So I figure there's chances for him, and just the odds is what really. I mean, you looked at the odds and go, shit, I might as well for plus 1,600. I'll take a shot with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, absolutely, especially with something like plus 1,600, where like I said to Pete earlier, you don't have to be exactly right every single time to make money when you're betting plus 1,600. So, and that's, I mean, like I said, to get him to, all he has to do is break one big run. He gets up to, he breaks for a 50 or whatever. And all of a sudden you find yourself 22 yards away from that prop bet at 16-1. So I absolutely love that. And Pete, anything more before I let you go?
Yeah, I'll give you like two more. One actually has a little bit of science to it. First drive, offensive TD. So that's either team, and that's plus 260. And I like that. The Eagles, they're the best in the league. They're the only team over 50% to score touchdowns on the opening drive, and they're second in the league, which surprised me, to the Bears in scoring on opening drives, which is crazy because it felt like the Bears didn't score the first 8 weeks, but that's but at least and then if KC gets the ball first, obviously with their offense, they're always a threat to score. Plus, you figure in a game like this, both teams know that the other offenses are big threats. So I feel like there's going to be some fourth downs. You're not going to maybe settle for field goals as much unless you have to. So I feel like if we can get that first drive, you want to jump on the other team. And at plus 260, there it is. At plus 260, I kind of like that one. And then one thing I like that's sort of an offshoot of that, offensive touchdown scored on fourth down. Yes. So to say that you'll have one, the way the game is played now, fourth downs, people just go for them. You get inside the 10. Again, if you're playing the Chiefs, you need touchdowns.
Yeah.
And if you're the Chiefs, the same thing. They're going to go for things like that. And that one was plus 270. So I kind of like that one a bit. And then the last one I'll touch on, let's see. This one is sort of really stupid. Will the 2-minute warning in the first half be at exactly 2 minutes? And I said no. So screw it. We'll go no. Plus 410. Why not? I mean, there's zero science. You got to hope that, they snap it at 2:02 and we're trying to save a timeout or something. And we can get that 2-minute warning at 1:57 and we cash it plus 410.
I mean, 4-1 on a stupid bet like that. I mean,
that's one of those where you forget you even had it. Then you look at your sheet and you're like, oh shit, I hit that one. That's beautiful. I like that.
How the hell do I have $50 in my account?
Yeah, why do I have more money? I don't know what's happening here. So I'll take that one too.
Oh right, yeah, they finished at 159. Yeah, it's just that's why the Super Bowl is so great.
Well, yeah, my luck will be our luck will be it lands at 158 and the stupid ref will come out and be like, no, put 2 more seconds on the clock, and then you got to go fight him somewhere. So.
Yeah, you see. Oh my God, who's that running on the field? Oh my God, it's Pete beating up.
Get out of here. Wouldn't be the first time we wanted to do that. And actually, the last one that's I think. So if it does get into a game where it's a little wild and we start getting some scoring, there was one cool one where I think it would be Mahomes. You'd have to rely on any quarterback over 400 yards passing, which I feel like Mahomes. I like his over in attempts. But that's, that's a much smaller number. So I didn't want to call that one out. But over 400 yards passing, yes, is plus 980. I figure if the game just gets wild and they have to throw, then I feel like Mahomes. I don't think Hurts can do that, but I think Mahomes can. I'm getting so much
I like that. slander
from
I'm getting so much slander from Penn State Scott today. I know I'm a Michigan fan, man, but he's got an outed for me today. Hey, I'll take the chalk. Hey, the chalk is the Eagles. So I don't want to hear that from anybody over there, but I agree.
mean, in this race, this is your perfect race because they're both sort of chalky. So it's like picking a 7-5 over a 6-5. So you're not really unchalking in either case.
No, of course not.
So.
But when if I take the underdog and I win, you bet your ass I'm going to say something about it.
True.
That's what I always do. But Pete, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate I'm sure all of us here and all the chat appreciates all your expertise, and the stat man strikes again with a bunch of his different props, and hopefully some of them hits for you.
We'll see, hopefully, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the boring regular game talk, but we'll have to do it anyway. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks everybody in the chat.
Thanks, Pete.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
Later,
Pete.
Patrick.
Have a good one.
All right, Patrick. Well, thanks again. Pete Visco did not have to join in there, but thanks so much to him for joining in, filling in a little bit of the gap that Charlie left by attending a frat party instead of staying with the cool guys on Bettin N Boozin. But Patrick, I want to get to a few of yours, and I'm going to get to a few of mine that will end on. But anything that you want, anything, whether it's scoring, receiving, props, whatever you got, hit me with it.
Yeah. So I picked about 5 of them that I strongly like. And so Travis Kelce over 7.5 receptions. That's
Yep.
plus 110. He's gone over his receiving yards and his receptions in both playoff games. He's just been Travis Kelce, and Mahomes is going to find Kelce. It's going to happen. I don't know how many yards he's going to have, but I like the receptions. 7.5's a lot, but I'll go with that. And then Kenneth Gainwell. Pete was hitting on it. I'm on the Kenneth Gainwell train as well. I love his over of receiving yards and rushing yards, which is a combined 32.5. I just think he could break one on the ground and he could hit it by itself, or they could use him in the passing game. He'll be good for that. And then I'd go his over of his longest rush, which is 8.5, and that's minus 114. But you put that in a parlay, you could boost that up a little bit. Jalen Hurts to throw a TD pass in the first quarter. Philly's been unbelievable to start games. They've scored on their first drive in both playoff games. They're a fast starting team. That's plus 225, so you're getting decent odds there. And then Pete hit on the fourth down one. He had them teams scoring on fourth down. I like will either team convert a fourth down attempt in their own territory, so on the other side of the 50. And yes is plus 120. I mean, even a fourth and inches, the Eagles offensive line, they do that QB sneak where they put Hurts under center. They got the big tight ends behind him and they just push him. Like small bets like that. And, you get positive plus odds, plus 120. And I just think, and then I wanted to talk about, MVP. When I like to pick the MVP, I don't, you could go with both quarterbacks. You see on the screen plus 130 for each. That doesn't get me going. I'm gonna go with 2 Eagles defenders, and I'll tell you why. Because I think the way I think the game's gonna play out, and we'll talk about this tomorrow more. But I just think the Eagles will dominate on the ground. So I don't know how fancy their offense is gonna be, and so I don't think the voters for the MVP are gonna want an offensive player. So I'm thinking maybe a defender for the Eagles makes a couple big plays, and Hassan Reddick comes to name first.
Yep.
And so does Brandon Graham. And you're getting plus 3,400 on Reddick and plus 7,500 on Brandon Graham. So, those are just 2 ideas for MVP if you don't want to go with the quarterbacks, which, it's unlikely. I mean, we all know, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah. I mean, well, you'll look at how unlikely it is, but just based on the odds themselves, you go from 2 plus 130s to 16 to 1 all the way, to Travis Kelce. People call it the quarterback award or whatever, but I mean, Hassan Reddick, to your point, is the 7th most likely MVP. He's by far the first defenseman on the list. And, like I said, you got A.J. Brown at 18. You got Miles Sanders at 2,500. Devonta Smith at 3,100. And, the guy right behind all those guys is Hassan Reddick. So, I mean, the man can, just go absolutely ham on that Kansas City Chiefs front line. And I mean, like he went last week. I mean, how many... he had 2 sacks and a strip sack last week? Or something like that. All he has to do, I mean, is, do that again, maybe get another strip sack, maybe, they return it for a touchdown. And all of a sudden you're vaulted into a plus, a 34 to 1 shot. There's really, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go with these MVPs. Even a guy like, Travis Kelce or AJ Brown. I mean, you're still getting good value if they have an insane game. I mean, even, 20 nets you. I mean, obviously, like 20 nets you 320 and stuff like that. There's still good value there as long as you have an inkling one way or the other. Like, I mean, racing downwind plus 1,800 for AJ Brown. I mean, like I said, that's good value if you have, if you have a strong inclination that AJ Brown might have a massive game, or Devonta Smith at 31 to 1. it's just, I mean, like in Racing Downwind puts up another good point. You could parlay with his over yards. Obviously, if he's going to have an insane game to net him MVP, you would, obviously like anytime touchdown score, parlay his over yards to win MVP and stuff like that. You can kind of mix and match those to be able to maximize your value on, basically something that would happen anyway if he were to win MVP. So it's just a bunch of those things, or like his over yards. But, I know like FanDuel, they have alternate yards. I believe all the sports books have, including BetUS. They all have, you can parlay as over yards. If you can go alternate, you go plus over 100 yards, and that's plus 250 instead of plus 110 or something like that. So you kind of mix and match and do whatever you want to do, but it's just trusting your gut and trying to find ones that you have the most confidence in, considering there's just so many. It's easy to get overwhelmed in a game like this where there's just so many different wagering options and stuff like that. And Penn State Scott again coming in with the heat tonight. When it comes to betting this game, it's no different than racing. Just plus up your best bet. From the words of a guy that everyone in horse racing should know, Matt Miller, 2021 BC champ. We've had him on the show before. If your best bet of the weekend wins and you don't get paid, you're just not betting correctly. So that best bet of your weekend, you better get paid if that bet hits. So Penn State's got to completely agree with you. Just to touch on a few more that I really like. Pete touched on it already, but both QBs to throw 2 touchdowns. Racing Downwind touched in the chat earlier that the Chiefs lead the league in most reception touchdowns allowed in the NFL for the entire season, because that's obviously due to losing guy like the Honey Badger and all the injuries that they've accrued in the secondary. But they're not going to be fully healthy in that. So I completely agree with Pete that I really do like this bet, and plus 174 for that is not that bad of a price at all. And then Pete, I don't know where Pete got that, but I got on a prop that's either team to score on the first drive per an offensive touchdown. That got plus 118. He might have gotten it from yesterday. It might have gone down a lot, but I do like that as well. Like Pete touched on, I had the stat. He beat me to it that the Eagles are over 50%. They're the only team in the NFL to score over 50% on the first drive. So, just playing the odds game, plus 118 might be a little low than what you want to take, but it's still a good bet if you trust that Eagles line to be able to throw early in the game, establish that run game, and get down in the end zone. This is one that I thought was extremely interesting. And Patrick, I'm going to have you touch on this like we touched on before. It's the shortest touchdown scored of the game. You're basically betting on whether there's going to be a 1-yard touchdown or not. And that's just, obviously there's a bunch of different ways you can get there. Obviously you can get tackled at the 1, or, there's a PI in the end zone. You get placed at the 1-yard line. And then all of a sudden if you have the over 1.5 yards, all of a sudden you find yourself screwed and cursing out the defender's name because now you just lost it. Because, more often than not, especially if it's a PI, you get first down at the 1-yard line. You're 99% scoring at that point, unless you're the Seahawks and you should have ran the ball. But sorry, I had to get that in there at some point.
Yeah,
just a good old a nice good Super Bowl joke for all you people out there. But this one, that over is really tempting me. But under minus 188, even if you put something like $20, $30, obviously depending on your budget, of course, plus minus 188 is really not a bad price, especially with if you just think about all the happenstance that ways that they can get down to the 1-yard line.
yeah, and your angle of the defensive pass interferences that occur in the end zone, ball gets placed at the 1. I would bet that happens at least once in this game. I just think that defenders get crazy in the end zone to preventing a touchdown, which makes sense. And there's a lot of plays at the goal line they get they call it a touchdown on the field and then they reverse it because the knee was down because the player was diving, whatever. Just little things that get you to the 1-yard line. I would take the under. I know it's minus 188, but I think that's a pretty smart bet because there's so many ways the ball can get put at the 1-yard line, and I just think that it's that's a solid bet.
Absolutely. And like I said, this is just something that you can parlay as well. That minus 188 can turn into a really nice parlay score depending on what you put it with. So, something like that. I just thought, this is something that people might not even know exists, is that shortest touchdown scored, is over under the 1-yard line. So, and then to touch on Vale Place's comment, Vale, if you follow me on Twitter, I will be putting out everything that I'm playing on Sunday to kind of just give the guys, because obviously this is a very, it's a very rapid fire show just because there's so many different props that people can play. I will be putting on everything that I'm playing on Sunday, and I'm sure my co-hosts, if they want to, they will do it as well. So just to kind of have a visual representation of, and then to touch on this, we are going over every single thing on the line tomorrow at the normal time of 9 p.m. Eastern, our normal time slot for Bettin N Boozin. Will be all about the analysis on the lines, the over under, all the different stats from the different teams on, how they play during the playoffs, during the regular season, and all of that, which will be with the full palette of Bettin N Boozin hosts, as well as the HHH Racing Podcast hosts. We're going to bring in the old guys to give on their wisdom of, their 70 plus years of Super Bowl experience. I'm just kidding. I'm just being an ass. But, given their Super Bowl expertise and how, all these different, Pete, like I said, with his stats and all that stuff would be a great thing. So please tune in tomorrow if you are interested on hearing what we talk about the lines. And just to touch on, for people that weren't here at the beginning of the show, this show is made possible by our two great new sponsors of the HHH Racing Podcast. Number one is BetUS, which is what you can use to bet every single thing on this year's Super Bowl. Everything from sports betting and casino as well. You can bet up to 200 games a day with 300 and 400 different props to bet. If you just go on one of their menus for just having all of the different NFL bets, it's very well organized. You just click on Eagles bets, Eagles prop bets passing, and it has all of Jalen Hurts' stuff. And then, even it has, if Miles Sanders were to throw a touchdown or something like that, that's a great betting platform. Like I said, if you use code RACING3 number 3H, it's RACING3H when signing up. When you go to deposit money, you'll get a free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. Link to BetUS is in the description, and thank you so much for them for sponsoring the episode. And also to Crown's Way Racing with Anthony Rollo. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of Bettin N Boozin. Please contact Anthony Rollo at crownswayracing.com or on their Twitter at Crownsway Racing to find out how you can get involved with Series E, their new series coming out for a very affordable horse racing syndicate option that I so graciously am a part of. As you can see, all my different winner's circle pictures, all courtesy of Crownsway Racing. So please check them out if you are interested. So, and just again, to kind of round out what I'm thinking here, we got to end with the greatest. We already touched on it a little bit, but the greatest prop bet. I know I already said this with the coin toss. I'm repeating myself, but the Gatorade color on what will be splashed over. Again, all stats is all you need to know here. Gatorade color yellow is plus 130 this year, which I actually I haven't done my research for the Gatorade. If you do any research for the Gatorade color, but they splashed the Eagles coach got yellow splashed over his head, which is why it's plus 130. Orange is plus 320 and blue's plus 380. Sadly, I did get this one wrong last year. I went yellow at plus 500. I think it was orange last year. But Patrick, are you a Gatorade color dabbler?
I am not, but I'll tell you this. I think that the yellow, they count the green and the lime, so
they do.
It's like 3. And I think the reason why the odds are like this is because, between the Eagles and, pouring the yellow on Coach Sirianni in the NFC Championship, and then you have the Chiefs, they have a yellow in their jersey color, and there's green too in the Eagles jersey color. I just think that, they're thinking of all that. So I would bet that. I mean, I think you're getting 2 for 1 pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play it, but I think that's the way I'd go with it.
I am so going to play this bet just for the sole fact that, I got to do my research on what they splashed over Andy Reid, I guess, to see what if they splashed orange over his head, or if they splashed yellow over his head, then it might be doomed. But look, orange at plus 320 or even blue. All these different guys. It's a crapshoot. Like, you can do all the research you want. It's just one of those stupid bets that you put in the Super Bowl. Like, when I was sitting on my couch at college, we all bet on it. We were all like holding each other back and stuff like that to see what the Gatorade color would be. And there's a few people that got it right. We all hated them and threw them over the couch. But stuff like that. It's just a bunch of fun. That's basically what the Super Bowl is meant to be. Especially, obviously, it's money. We want to win money, but you have some fun. The coin toss and the Gatorade color are my two favorite bets, just because they're the completely out there bets that you never get to bet unless it's the Super Bowl. So I have to play them. I'm going to be going tails. Patrick and Pete both went heads. I'm going to hope it's a tails type of year this year for all my friends that will end up watching this show. It's a tails type of year. and I kind of want to go orange, but like I said, we got to do some research first, and I'll give my final recollection on that tomorrow. But racing downwind, to our point before, brings up a great point where last year the under 1.5 yards won just because of that PI that we brought up. So like Patrick said, there's so many different ways that you can get to that 1 yard line. I mean, obviously, like I said, with these reviews, I call it with my Man City sweatshirt on, we call it the VAR, the VAR, the cheating refs that, put it at the 1 yard line. Tails never fails, Jim. Thank you very much. I will take that and run with it to the hills. Absolutely. It's a tails type of year. But Penn State Scott, thanks so much, man. We greatly appreciate it. Little known prop bet, Bettin N Boozin having the second season. 8-Ball says absolutely. Cheers to you, my friend. Let's hope the professor keeps us in the loop, and we'll be greatly appreciated to have everything from him. But like I said, guys, this is just kind of a touch on all these different ways that you can bet. And obviously, whether you use our sponsor, again, thank you to them, Bet US, or FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever you use, there's so many different wagering options. Please look through all of them, see what your favorite thing is to bet. And just honestly, like I said, you can parlay them, you can play them. Don't let anyone, tell you how to bet. Obviously, you can take in all these different ways, all the different channels that you listen to on what you want to bet. But, bet your way. Don't, no unit shamers out here. If you just want to play what I'm going to do for full transparencies, I'm going to play a bunch of like $5 parlays and just call it a day. If you hit one, it pays for the entire day. If you don't, so be it. You don't lose that much money. My two biggest bets of the day, honestly, will probably be the coin toss. Will probably be my biggest bet of the entire day, which is actually hilarious. It'll probably be like a 25 or 30 or on tails, and if we win, we get out for the entire day just on the flip of the coin, I guess. No pun intended. But it's just like I said, there's just so many different ways you can. Please tune into us tomorrow, as that will be our extravagant show, our biggest show of Bettin N Boozin so far. It'll be episode number 6. It'll be all touching on everything you need to know about betting the big game, as Super Bowl's trademark, can't say that. So it's going to be everything that you need to know about the lines, the over under, expertise, stats from the teams the entirety of the year. How many points do the Eagles score against teams with low passing defenses and stuff like that. Everything you are going to need to know is going to be in tomorrow's show at 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is our normal slot for Bettin N Boozin. Everything, like I said, everything you need to know about betting the big game will be there. So if you're interested, please come check us out. We would greatly appreciate it. Just to round out with some comments, Boozin, no losing, Super Bowl props day one. I've told you, I'm trademarking that. That's so good. I love that, racing downwind. I'll give you some royalties if we end up doing big things, but I appreciate it. Vale Place, I appreciate it. Vale Place, thank you so much for checking out our sponsor. We greatly appreciate it. And like I said, they have so many different wagering options and everything that you would want and more. So please go check us out, or please go check out Bet US and use our code RACING3H for your 125% upgrade. And Tom Espinoza, one more thing. Thank you so much for joining the show. Yeah, there's just, like I said, if you don't bet sports and you log into, like FanDuel for the first time and you look at all the different things you can do, it's definitely easy to get overwhelmed. But like I said, you can obviously take inspiration from us, which, I would greatly encourage you to check out tomorrow's show for everything of our best bets of this weekend will be all tomorrow. So like I said, please check that out. But that's kind of just it for this show. Is all I just wanted to do is, kind of give a lighthearted conversation about touching on all these different places that you can bet on this game. And like I said, leave the kind of stats and all that stuff to tomorrow. Just a nice laid back Bettin N Boozin, no losing show. So if you guys are playing prop bets, please, like I said, obviously play responsibly, but choose what you want. And like I said, parlay them. Use Pete's parlays. Pete had some really nice parlays for a lot of money. A lot of able to plus 7,900 or whatever, and play it that way. Patrick, do you have any closing remarks before we close out the show?
No, you pretty much hit on everything. Bet responsibly and bet what you want. I mean, it's fun. The Super Bowl's like nothing else. You could bet on literally anything within the game pretty much, and just look at your sports book that you like, and especially the Bet US one, and just pick a couple things out, parlay it together, and put a couple bucks on it.
Best bet of the show. It's so great. I love it, Jim. But again, thanks so much for everyone that came in to tune in just to kind of lighthearted show. Like I said, please tune in tomorrow, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for everything that you will need to know about betting the big game with myself, Patrick Kuenzel, Charlie Freeman, and all the boys from the HHH Racing Podcast. Again, thank you so much for everyone that came out tonight. Again, please tune in tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.